Hey everybody, happy Friday to you. In about just outside of 2 hours, maybe about 2 hours and 4 minutes, I'm gonna have my scheduled live stream regarding the Super Bowl and a pollster I'm going to interview. But I'm making this special live stream to report some news that was brought to me by a source, a very well placed source, and it has to do with the incident that occurred on October 30th of 2015 between Eliaine Brown, who was a noted black activist from the Black Panther movement and a very famous person in Oakland, and legendary Oakland Councilmember Desley Brooks of District 6. And I'm going to read to you what I wrote so that I do not at all uh, miss any information in recounting this to you, from my head. And so the text that is in the description, which will become a blog post after this is finished, goes like this. Desley Brooks, the Oakland District 6 council member, is the victim of a riot, of not just an angry Eliaine Brown, but a civic social system that has become toxic because it's incredibly immature. It is not happy until it finds someone to destroy for reasons as small as, in this case, fearing a strong black woman. The Oakland Politics of yesterday, specifically 2000 to pick a year, was mature and such that two council members or activists who vehemently disagree with each other at City Council would get together at a bar or restaurant, talk about the issue, and then laugh about it all. Now, former Oakland City Council members John Russo and Ignacio de la Fuente were great at that. Moreover, the media who covered the Oakland City Council also broke bread with the council members on a regular basis. A small dust-up at an establishment was always brokered by cooler heads back then, not so today, and it's sad. Oakland politics of the second decade of the 21st century has degenerated into a constant set of personal battles allowed to fester without the encroachment of the cooler heads I referred to earlier. And because the disagreements between these prominent Oaklanders don't have anyone intervening to make things better, they degenerate such that the legal system is used as a weapon. This happened in 2013 when then Oakland City Auditor Courtney Ruby attempted to blame Oakland Council members Larry Reed and Desley Brooks for the same action of calling Oakland City staffers on matters related to their council districts. That action's called tampering, but as De La Fuente said repeatedly, tampering was done by every Oakland elected official over the last 20 years or more. And he said, we should all be in jail. Brooks and Reed survived that silliness. But now, Brooks, who's up for re-election and has already racked up a ton of endorsements, is the focus of calls for censure by the media. This is in the wake of a restaurant disagreement, but one that has not been reported correctly according to my source. Contrary to what you may have read, this is what I was told happened between Eliaine Brown and Desley Brooks on October 30th of 2015. At Everett & Jones, Brown came over to join Brooks and a person named Lynn Turner. While Brooks and Turner were talking about something else and not the housing project, contrary to reports, Brown started talking about her housing project. I was told that Councilmember Brooks never talked about that or brought it up. Ms. Brown did. My source said that Desley remarked that the project would not solve the homeless problem and said that we need multiple things, new construction and acquisition. My source says that Brooks' remark set Brown off. Brown got mad at Desley. My source explains that Brown said something that Brooks remarked, such that Brooks remarked, I thought you were supposed to be the revolutionary, referring to her Black Panther Party past. This was said to have made Brown mad. So Desley turned her back to the allegedly intoxicated Brown and stopped talking to her in an effort to avoid her and in the hope that she would back down. Then Brown picks up her phone and says the B word to her assistant, Shelly Garza, but with Desley's back turned, but well within earshot. The Everett & Jones waitress brings Eliaine Brown's check over to her. As she gets up from the table, my source explains that Brown then turns and starts yelling at Desley, "You bitch lesbian dyke." This is what I was told, all right? And yells at Brooks loud in front of everyone at Everett and Jones Barbecue to hear. My source then says that Dorothy King, the owner of Everett and Jones Barbecue, saw this play out and tried to get Desley Brooks out of the way of Brown. Only when that happened, my source says that Desley did not know Elaine was in front of her. So Elaine and Desley wind up walking to the back area of the eatery side by side, with Brown poking her, as my source says, several times in the arm, harder each time. Brooks feared that Brown, who later said that she hated Brooks for 10 years, was trying to hurt her. So Brooks pushed her away. But my source says that Brooks did not intend to push Brown into a set of tables and chairs. They just happened to be there. She was defending herself. With all this, it's purely amazing that the city of Oakland didn't rush to court to file an appeal, but it's even sadder that there's no leader in Oakland who would step up to the plate to bring the two together and make amends. There's no mature voice. And this is where Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf can and should be the mature voice. Stay tuned. But I wanted to share that and get that information out. I think someone, Silver and Black Oakland, says Desley is selling wolf tickets, and actually, from what I was told, it looks more like Ms. Brown was selling the wolf tickets, but the point is that the minutia of detail aside for a moment, again, there was no one to be there to be the cooler head or to come in later and serve as the cooler head. And so what's happened is that you have these instances of elected officials and activists quite literally getting into arguments that are taking on some fantastic proportions. If it isn't this example that I present, okay, then it's another one that I saw, and it's right on Zenny62 on YouTube, where this older black woman, very angry, came up and started talking about how black leaders were not serving the community. And when Oakland Councilmember Lynette Gibson McElhaney came down from the dais to console and comfort her, this woman openly shoved her. This is all on video. Openly shoved her back. And the police, very, very eager not to escalate the matter, did nothing and let the woman, calm down. But it's gotten to a point in Oakland where we have exchanges more, if not like that, than like what Ms. Eliaine Brown and Miss Brooks went through October 30th, 2015. I also should remark that I have reached out to Eliaine Brown in the past to get a statement about what happened. We're connected on Facebook. She has not answered either my messages or even my direct posts on her page. So what can I do? By contrast, I received a call from a source, and this source explained to me from their point of view what happened as a witness, and so I published it. But with a call for some cooler head to prevail, also to say this, that the city really ought to consider filing an appeal as opposed to using this as some sort of weapon to carry out a personal vendetta. We have had too much of that. I have a video that goes back to, I believe, 2013, where we had then Oakland District 2 Councilmember Patricia Kernahan and Lynette Gibson McElhaney and Desley Brooks basically over-talking each other. And we have a lot of instances of incivility among city council members. We've had it before in the past, okay? I'm not saying that, in the past everything was hunky-dory, right? It wasn't. But even then, the rancor was not to this level, okay? It just wasn't. And it wasn't to a point where you had elected officials using the legal system to carry out personal attacks. And that's what we've degenerated to. And it's got to stop. And overall, we have a city where people are, I'm going to say this, taking out their mental illnesses in ways that are horrible. If it's not someone expressing some sort of racial anxiety using Nextdoor, then it's someone else making false claims about another person, expressing some sort of fear about an imagined person knocking on a door or walking down the street. This is crazy. And all of these are examples of expressions of mental illness. There's something going on in Oakland that's causing this. Perhaps the too high housing costs are having these impacts, combined with our use of smartphones as a way of creating these micro societies, separating ourselves from each other to a point where we don't talk anymore like we used to. And we have a new generation of people coming in every year turning 18 that learns this new way of not relating to people that creates this kind of environment that's toxic. We've got to stop it. Okay? And if you think about it from the perspective of black on black crime, this is another form of black on black crime. No, it has nothing to do with using weapons of the standard sense, but it's using weapons in the legal sense. Okay? Via lawsuit and court and everything else. And you have people in the media who simply don't like Desley because she is a strong, outspoken black woman. She is. That's the way she is. And that some people don't like, but they won't admit it's for that reason. But they don't. Is it a form of racism? You betcha. Okay? It's awful. Now, CRF 16 says, Ms. Brown is selling wolf tickets. Wow, and then says, do I think the city will do that? In other words, be the broker. The city has to. If we are to grow and really then get to a point we can focus on the resolution of our real problems, we have no choice. So I wanted to get that out there, and it's out there. So please, thank you for your time, and subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. And I'll see you at 9:30 to talk about Super Bowl 52 from the television ratings perspective. All right. Again, thanks again. Thank you very much.